So basically, you give people alcohol, but it's medically supervised.
The Oaks is a 55-bed facility for individuals with chronic alcoholism.
People are so against managed alcohol programs.
If there are opponents to managed alcohol out there listening, look around at your circles. There is probably someone in your circle that is struggling with alcoholism.
Alcohol has ruined their life, and you guys are helping them get back on track.
People on managed alcohol programs still drink themselves to death pretty frequently, but at least they're doing so in a way that's not painful. They're at home, they're loved, they're cared for. Nobody calls it harm elimination.
That's right.
It's harm reduction. Harm reduction and recovery models really need to work hand in hand.
And knowing that it's a journey. We've had several individuals over the years that have chosen to stop drinking.
So housing is the key to sobriety. It's recovery plus harm reduction plus housing.
Yes, period, yeah.
I know this is a controversial conversation, and if harm reduction bothers you, please watch and listen to this with an open mind. So we invited Adrienne Sesiakin, Senior Manager Program Development and Engagement of Supportive Housing, and Christal Brownlee, Program Manager Supportive Housing, to have a more in-depth conversation about alcohol addiction, homelessness in Canada, harm reduction, and managed alcohol programs. We're going to talk about managed alcohol programs. I know, giving drunks booze, such a taboo topic, but these people would literally die on the streets. These are people that would not stop drinking unless there was support, and they're now inside in a safe place, supervised by medical professionals. In 2011, I visited, and I'll be candid with you because I'm an alcoholic. I was a severe alcoholic. People would say I drink because of the taste. I drank because of the effect, and I was a blackout drinker. So I went to the Oaks, and here's people walking around with their mug. I know it's full of booze, or whatever, the 6 ounces or whatever the medical professionals have prescribed.
Yes.
And I felt uncomfortable. I really felt uncomfortable. Then I saw these are the people as an outreach case manager that I worked with that would never, ever go inside to a shelter. And many of them were that chronic alcoholic.
Absolutely.
And if we're able to say, hey, here's a place, it's a shelter, not a shelter that's going to kick you out, but a shelter that's going to take care of you.
Yep.
And we'll be able to have alcohol governed, right? It would have saved lives. And my paradigm just changed because these are the chronic drunks. I think the term you guys use or used to use is chronic inebriates.
Gosh, I remember that from earlier in
Oh
my
my
career.
God, right?
I
Right?
do.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Never? Okay, yeah. So it's a 2011 term.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that went away.
Absolutely.
But these are people that need that extra care. You guys provide that. Normally, we sit and have a conversation, and I haven't walked through the facility or gone out with outreach, but we spent a day together. We
Yes,
did
we
a documentary because you both work at a managed alcohol program.
Yes, we do.
Tell me about it.
The Oaks is a 55-bed facility for individuals with chronic alcoholism. So we look to serve individuals who have a long history of consuming alcohol. They have had significant homelessness. They have had medical issues due to their alcoholism. A lot of the individuals we service have struggled with family connections, building communities. And these are individuals who have then come to the Oaks in the hopes of stabilization from a harm reduction standpoint. So not absenteeism as a whole, but more of a stabilizing what they're drinking in order to support better medical supports, building relationships, and so on and so forth.
So basically, you give people alcohol, but it's medically supervised, and it's people who otherwise could get sick and die.
Absolutely.
If they didn't have that alcohol.
Absolutely. We do have residents who experience seizures due to alcohol intake. So if they haven't had enough alcohol, their body reacts to that and they will then have seizures. Many of the individuals we service could potentially have, lifelong effects from their alcohol intakes.
What people don't realize is how addictive alcohol can be, both, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. If they don't drink, they get the DTs. Let's put it this way. Alcohol has ruined their life, and you guys are helping them get back on track.
Because alcohol has already taken up so much of their life. So instead of looking at it as something that has taken away from their lives, let's make it manageable within their life.
Right. We interviewed someone, and that's what he said, is that you helped me become a social drinker, because he was a blackout drinker.
Yeah.
And I was a blackout drinker.
I can speak to some of the folks that we provide housing to in the managed alcohol program and what their lives look like before going to the Oaks. We have a shelter-based diversion program. So essentially it's meant to remove the pressures of the emergency room. So individuals with extreme and severe substance use problems can actually come to the shelter program and receive healthcare support instead of ending up in the hospital. We have folks that I met for the first time when I was working frontline at the shelter who would come in on a daily basis with paramedics, soiled pants, can't walk, can't form sentences, extreme alcohol use. Over time, as they build that trust and work with our case management team, watching the journey of their stabilization is just really, really incredible.
We interviewed one gentleman who was using a walker. He's there and now he's walking independently.
Yes.
Because of a managed alcohol program. It was amazing.
And it's been an amazing journey to be a part of. He's allowed us to be a part of his growth and his triumphs. And you're absolutely right. He came in very unstable, struggling with a walker, and now he's helping us clean up around the program. He helps with his peers. He's somebody that they get to look up to when somebody new comes in, because there is success at the end.
Yeah. People are so against managed alcohol programs. And you guys operate 2 of them.
Yes,
you
we
have
do.
5 supportive housing.
Yes, we do.
And 2 are managed alcohol.
Yes, 2 of them have a managed alcohol component.
Yes. The Oaks admittedly is the biggest. And then we have another called Richcraft Hope Residence that has a smaller version of the managed alcohol program. And in that program, we support polysubstance use. So it's not just people with alcoholism, it's people who use all types of substances. But you're absolutely correct. Many of the individuals that come into our shelter, the recovery-based program at the shelter who may move on to the Oaks, many of those individuals are people who would not access a shelter that makes them abstain from their substance use. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it takes the stigma away from the language, right? For somebody to say, I'm suffering. People don't want to say out loud, I'm suffering with alcoholism. It's not pretty, it's not beautiful, it's not rainbows and butterflies, but we kind of take that away within our harm reduction approach to programs, right? Somebody will come in, and I've done it with many individuals throughout, my time within supportive housing, and I'll be like, it's okay to talk about alcoholism. It's not a dirty word.
Yeah.
It's absolutely acceptable.
Alcohol is socially acceptable. Your corner bar is a supervised consumption site.
Yep.
And happy hour, it's celebrated. But something like a harm reduction facility is condemned.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't get that. And the other thing about alcohol is people can go most of their lives being a nasty drunk, hitting their partner, hitting their kids. That's like almost normal, right?
Yeah.
And you're correct that the accessibility of alcohol makes people struggling with alcoholism or substance use challenges related to alcohol, it makes it nearly impossible to abstain. Christal was saying recently that they sell booze at the Circle K.
Circle K.
Right next to the Oaks. So now you have people who are stabilized on a managed alcohol program, and the accessibility of alcohol out in the world is just everywhere.
Right.
The temptation
Oh, it is.
doesn't go away.
Yeah, if you watch TV or movies, and we all do, you'll see alcohol being poured.
Yeah.
And it's usually whiskey. I was a professional alcoholic, and I'm like, those people would not be walking. I mean, it's that common. So you're still seeing alcohol all the time, right? And it's so social and normal.
And alcoholism touches the lives of anyone. We all know someone that struggles with alcohol use. It's one of those things that, because it's so easily accessible and because we all experience stress in our lives, it's just so easy to like reach for that bottle. If there are opponents to manage alcohol out there listening, I think it's really important to look around at your circles. There is probably someone in your circle that is struggling with alcoholism.
Absolutely. When you look at the individuals we service, and I say it often, is that everyone that's at the Oaks is somebody's mother, somebody's brother, somebody's cousin. They're somebody's loved one. So they're just as loved as anybody else. We just have to look at it through a different lens.
For every $100 increase in median rent, homelessness increases by 9%. Homelessness is a growing crisis, and as visible homelessness grows, the public is freaking out. Rightly so, but they're pushing for criminalization. Criminalization of homelessness will only make homelessness worse. We need to support evidence-based solutions, which is why Invisible People's work is so very important. Please go to invisiblepeople.tv/donate and give a gift of any size. We need you.
Yeah, well, we're here in Ottawa, of course, for the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, and one of the keynote speakers this morning was talking about harm reduction and recovery models really need to work hand in hand, and I think at the Oaks, that's what we see. We don't ever say to someone, if you're drinking outside the program or if you're slamming a bottle, like it's done, the relationship is over. That is never what we do. We work with these individuals to get them back on their medically prescribed pour, get them restabilized, and I think it's really, really crucial to help people experiencing alcoholism to succeed by being accepting of those quote unquote failures of recovery.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's a journey. It's not just a, hello, welcome to the Oaks. We have a managed alcohol program. I'll pour you this wine. There is an emotional aspect to this process, so it takes time.
Tell me a little bit about the structure at the Oaks.
At the Oaks, we have frontline staff. We have CCWs, which are client care workers. They're in partnership with our inner city health partners. And we also have a nurse who is on site 5 days a week. We have access to a mental health nurse who comes in regularly. And they also have connections with like a doctor that can come in on site or at least have those conversations to determine individuals' healthcare needs. So there's a constant wraparound support within the program to allow people to be successful.
Because you call it a pour.
Yes, I do.
I mean, everybody, it's pour time.
Yep.
It's once every hour,
Yes.
and each person gets a different amount.
That's right. So each served glass of wine that we provide individuals we service, it's technically medically prescribed.
Right.
So we look at different things. If their bodies don't metabolize the alcohol appropriately, somebody who would receive a 5-ounce pour may not metabolize it properly, and it wouldn't allow their bodies to digest it right. So another individual might have to have 3-ounce pours, or other individuals have special pours. So a special pour is actually wine diluted with water to help the body be able to metabolize it better, going through the different organs that are affected.
I don't know which of your clients talked about this. They talked about how their pours had to be adjusted and how it helped them.
Actually, all 3 individuals that you interviewed yesterday, it was.
Yeah.
They've all actually experienced that. And many individuals that we service at the Oaks have to go through that exact same process. If somebody comes in, they're not always stabilized. So having somebody come in who's been consuming excessive amounts of alcohol or maybe non-consumables, which is like Listerine and
We'll
all
go
those
there.
things.
We got to talk about
If they've
that.
been outside of the program drinking that and they're coming in, giving them a generalized pour of 7 ounces and 5 thereafter is not going to be enough. They're going to experience detox. So these individuals will need a slight adjustment. It might be 7 ounces in the morning and then 5 ounces and then 7 ounces, and we would adjust it as they stabilize.
Somebody would say, well, experiencing detox, wouldn't that be a good thing?
No, detox is painful. Physically,
Right.
mentally, emotionally, for somebody to stabilize and come to a point where they're able to
Function.
and be able to do all those daily tasks that we
Right.
want people to do, they need to be comfortable. If you're making somebody in a position where they're in pain and they're physically not feeling well,
Right.
they're going to go out to get what they need to feel better.
Not to mention that detox can be dangerous as well.
Yeah, it can result in death.
But if somebody does say, hey, I really would like your help in getting off alcohol, one of the people we talked to has several months sober.
Yes.
Yes.
If somebody says, gosh, I really want off, then you would help them.
Absolutely. We
you know,
encourage it.
So the effect of going off would be not as strong as a detox.
Absolutely. We've had several individuals over the years that have chosen to stop drinking. And during that process, it's an individual process, right? It's one person, it might be tapering. Another person, they might want to go to detox and go through that process. Whatever that individual wants and whatever they need, we're going to support it. If it's successful, perfect. If it's not, that's okay too. We can try again.
Well, that's one thing I love about your program and other similar harm reduction programs. I feel unconditional love, and I could have hung out with all day. You know, there's some kind of challenge, let's say, that they go out and they drink too much or do other drugs or whatever. You give them second, third, fourth, and fifth chances.
Absolutely.
In normal society, whether it be their work or their church or wherever, they don't get those chances.
Yeah, that is the philosophy that we hold at Shepherds of Good Hope, the overall organization that the Oaks is one of our housing programs. So at Shepherds of Good Hope, we really do believe in that multiple chances. And we know that recovery and success is very individualized and it's not a linear process for anyone. Many of the individuals that reside in our residences or work with us in shelter programs, there are people that might not be successful literally anywhere else in the world.
Recovery programs or faith-based programs, you don't get a second chance and they just kick you back out to homelessness.
Yeah.
When a program like yours allows people to be human, I think would be the word, you know, you get unconditional love, and that's where you start the process of healing, because I haven't received that love, whether it be from community or family or wherever. And that's where you start getting to where you want to get better.
Yeah. And you're providing community for individuals who have had a lack of community, a lack of family. You create your own family, your own community.
Well, that's what I felt. You know, these are the people that I would have hung out in a bar with. And I'm sure there's challenges, there's arguments.
Sure.
Look at the United States Congress. You know what I mean? When you get humans together, there's drama. So that's just a human thing. But I was really impressed. There was a good spirit in your place.
One thing as humans, I mean, any of us, we go through struggles, and those of us who experience mental health challenges at any time in our lives, I think there are behaviors that come along with that make a person feel ashamed of themselves and guilty. But I think one really beautiful thing about our programs is that people are given the space to screw up.
Right.
And then to come back and to know that we still love them, we still care about them, we're still going to provide service to them. I think it's just a real game changer in their own recovery and their own success.
Yeah.
It also provides them with hope. Hope that maybe they've lost or they haven't seen it, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can screw up.
Yep.
Right.
And the door's still open. The door didn't get locked or hit me on the ass on the way out. It was more of a, okay, no, you're human.
There must be an extreme noticeable difference from somebody who is a chronic alcoholic living outside to someone that comes into a managed alcohol program. That transformation probably doesn't happen overnight, but it probably is miraculous.
It really is. And you're right. It doesn't happen overnight. We all wish it would, but
Right,
it doesn't. But the process, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
For a lack of a better word, people come in such dire shape, whether that's, you know, their personal hygiene or their physical look or just their health. And then you see them go milestones after milestone, whether that's taking showers, changing their clothes, feeling confident and positive about themselves, coming in on using a walker and then not using a walker anymore. So that success, it's just a beautiful experience.
Something else that we didn't quite cover is clarifying that this managed alcohol program is residential. So the people on this managed alcohol program actually live on site.
It is their home.
It's supportive housing.
Yes,
That's right.
It is. There are some managed alcohol programs that exist in other municipalities that are like day programs, which is really interesting to explore. If you're not doing supportive housing but still would like to dabble in managed alcohol, there are other options.
Right. I would think that the supportive housing model by far has the best outcomes and is the best for people because housing. That's why treatment fails so often is people go into treatment for 28 days and then they're exited back to homelessness where they drink and use again.
Yeah.
And if they're lucky, maybe they'll go into another treatment where they're exited in 28 days and go and drink and use again.
Yeah.
Housing is the key to sobriety. It's recovery plus harm reduction plus housing.
Yes. Period. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I might be biased, but I definitely think that permanent housing-based managed alcohol programs are by far the best. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they show success. You walk into the programs like you had the opportunity and you see it. You see it on people's faces. You see it in the community.
From a harm reduction perspective, such a negative to so many communities these days, where it freaks me out, and I mean freaks me out to the point of being disturbing, it's a negative to many in the recovery community. I don't get that because I have never met someone who's a harm reductionist that doesn't also support recovery. We know, okay, abstinence-based programs, they work. Harm reduction works. Abstinence-based programs fail often. One of the gentlemen we talked to has been in rehab 27 times. 27 times. So you need harm reduction to keep people alive.
Agreed.
To the point that they're going to make the decision on their own because recovery works best when people want to recover. And it's so true because forced treatment doesn't work. But can't we all get along, right? Because we need both, not just one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They need to work in tandem. As you mentioned, harm reduction keeps people alive and people who are not currently ready to stop using or abstain from using whatever their chosen substances. I say chosen in air quotes because it's not always completely chosen. But when people are not ready to take that step, the harm reduction programming keeps them alive. You know, on a different side of the same coin, we need to make sure that those abstinence-based programs are available for people when they're ready to make that step.
Yeah.
If they're ready to take that step today, while they're exploring harm reduction programming, they might not be ready to take that step tomorrow. And if the abstinence-based programming is not available for them today, we might lose them by tomorrow.
And that is one of the things that they just don't talk about. I mean, they've got to know it. There's not enough treatment for people that want it on their own, voluntarily. So we're going to force people into treatment that doesn't even exist. Forced treatment doesn't work, nor does it exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this political ploy, I believe. They just don't want to see homeless people, and that's their, we're going to force them. And I said this in our documentary, and I'm going to reinforce it here. People don't want to see homeless people drinking outside, and they're going to complain about them drinking inside your facility.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
No, you cannot.
One, the person is going to be at many health risks, and you don't want to see it. Inside the Oaks or a managed alcohol program, they are under supervision. You're not going to see it. They have a better chance of going into recovery or getting better.
Yeah, agreed. And, you know, I think some of the opponents of the work that we do, these individuals generally are maybe a bit more conservative. And in those cases, I find money talks. And I think if we can demonstrate the cost savings of keeping these individuals out of hospitals, that's a really good way to argue for the good work that this is doing. Because if you look at it, I mean, what do we spend monthly on giving people wine? Like, not much in the grand scheme of things. It's not a lot of money. We brew our own wine. So it's not a lot of money. Alternatively, if these individuals are on the streets and they're drinking non-consumables and they're drinking hard liquor and they're ending up in the hospital twice a week, let's look at what that costs taxpayers to do that.
You brought up non-consumables. My first experience was I went to Anchorage, Alaska, because 22 Inuit Native people had died that one year. You would think it's because of the freezing cold. They were dying because they're drinking Listerine. I really hope people understand, or at least try to understand, if a person is so addicted to alcohol that they're drinking Listerine or hand sanitizer because they will get sick if they don't drink, they have a significant problem that is just not going to go away by going to any treatment. They are trying to anesthetize whatever pain, to not feel some pain. And they've drank so much, they've gotten physically addicted to it, and they're now drinking Listerine. And I would say probably many of your clients come from that.
Absolutely. I'd say a majority of the individuals I service, when they've walked into the doors, have at some point, if not in that moment when they walked in, were drinking things like Listerine, hand sanitizer, Aqua Velva.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there is, people don't necessarily understand why. It's, well, why would you do that? Well, nobody wants to do that.
Right. That's what hopefully I articulated that point.
Anybody who has even rinsed their own mouth with mouthwash, you don't want to drink that. Come on, it's common sense.
Right.
If somebody is at that point, they are in pain.
And that's where a
physically.
managed alcohol program is vital.
Absolutely.
And more communities need to have a managed alcohol program.
Absolutely. Or at least be willing to acknowledge the need or look into it and educate themselves and see if there is a need within their communities.
Right. And you guys have been running for many years.
Yes. Shepherds of Good Hope has been open for over 40 years. The Oak specifically opened in 2011.
January of 2010.
Yes.
Yeah, so I must have just visited right when you opened.
Yeah, it was new the first time. Yeah, for sure. But yes, we've been doing harm reduction work with our health partner, Ottawa Inner City Health, for a very long time.
I wrote a blog post with a video interview of my first visit, and I told the story about Richard. And Richard was one of my clients when I was an outreach case manager in Los Angeles, and he had sclerosis of the liver, and he had sores on his leg because of it, and they were really bad, so he couldn't wear pants. So he would wear shorts and then loosely wrap bandanas around the sores so people couldn't see it. A normal person would say, gosh, I have these sores on my legs, I should stop drinking, right? Sure. But alcohol has taken over their life. We tried everything to get Richard into treatment, to get him into a shelter, everything. I mean, we targeted him. He became a friend, but he just was not going to stop drinking. And if there was a managed alcohol program, I know he would have gone in. Richard ended up dying next to the Los Angeles River. I know 100% a managed alcohol program would have saved Richard's life.
Or at least extended his life. I think it's important to note that people on managed alcohol programs still drink themselves to death pretty frequently, but at least they're doing so in a way that's not painful. They're at home, they're loved, they're cared for.
They have dignity. Respect.
So,
well,
sadly,
unpack that a little bit.
Yeah,
you
sure.
say they're drinking themselves to death.
Yes.
Because they can't stop, but they're in your care. Are they dying in the shelter?
So, in the supportive housing, yes, sometimes.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, chronic alcoholism, whether it's managed or not, does affect your body. Your organs and your internal needs can only take so much alcohol before organs stop wanting to function. So we do look at it as extending somebody's care, somebody's life. But
that's a new paradigm for me. When you talk about supervised consumption sites, they say, well, nobody's died. There's been 0 overdose deaths. And I get what you're saying because of how alcohol really rots organs.
Yeah,
that's right.
You know what I mean? That it's a little different for managed alcohol.
Absolutely.
I think that our participants would still argue that it has saved their life because, yes, maybe their health is still suffering because they're drinking 15 drinks a day, basically. Yeah. But they actually have a life. Like Christal said, they have dignity, they have family, they have friends. That is life. Right? So we have saved the quality of their life, I think is what we're argue. Yeah.
Because outside, they're living day to day to get Listerine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's driving that is their life.
Yeah. Or having that blackout intoxication, right? If you're drinking every day to the point that you're blacking out, where's the quality in that?
Right.
Where's the quality in your
Well,
day?
I can hear the people that are listening to this that are the recovery people saying, see, I told you that harm reduction managed alcohol, that's evil.
Sometimes, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to satisfy everybody. For myself, I've been with Shepherds for 16 years. So over the years, I have had the privilege of watching people gain back their families, gain back their health, even if it is for short periods of time. And to me, that is success when you watch these people come in and they glow. They have conversations. They're doing their own laundry. They're calling a friend, or they're sitting down playing crib or doing a pool game together. That to me is success.
I would say to those people, nobody calls it harm elimination.
That's right.
It's harm reduction. We are reducing harms. We're not eliminating harms. The very underpinnings of harm reduction is this recognition that harmful activities and harmful habits exist. We can't wish them away. So what can we do as humans and as a society to reduce the harms associated?
It's all about reducing risk,
Exactly.
not eliminating it.
Yeah.
And in the process, you're saving lots of taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We are.
You know, I mean, the arguments against harm reduction just drive me crazy. People outside whatever their community, whether they're politician, concerned citizen, maybe they work at a homeless services, and they wanted to start a program like this. Where would be the first step to learn?
It really depends on where you are. I think a really good place to start is to reach out to either your municipal or provincial health authority to see if it's legislatively possible for you. Work with local grassroots health organizations. What we do wouldn't be possible without Ottawa Inner City Health and the doctors that work for them. So I think that's a good place to start is to lean on the experts in healthcare.
Yeah, because you need that support to create the communities that we have created. And as Adrienne has stated, Inner City Health is the peanut butter to our jam.
Yeah.
Like, we need them to do what we do every single day. And then after that, that's where you start reaching out to other managed alcohol programs. What worked? What didn't work?
Yeah.
It's okay to talk about what didn't work too, so that you can kind of get an idea.
Well, I strongly believe that if you have a culture that looks at what didn't work in a healthy way to fix it,
Yeah.
that is how we get better. Where so often we avoid the conversations of what's broken. We want to live in this pretend world, right?
Absolutely. I think even for the Oaks, we've noticed that over the last year. I think we started having even more conversations of how can we keep helping more people. The old mentality of having individuals that were, and I'm quoting it, is diehard alcoholics. It's just not as present anymore. Polysubstance use has really come to light. So we, even at the Oaks, have had to start opening our eyes and how can we do this better? How can we do things differently? How can we support more people? So being willing and opening to listening.
And if I could just add, if there are people listening that are interested in managed alcohol programs, Shepherds of Good Hope is always happy to have people for tours. If you're far away, if you're in another country, we can do a virtual chat just to talk about the challenges that you're seeing, the challenges that we've seen, and how we've worked through them.
Absolutely.
How do people get a hold of you?
Our website is a great place to start. So sghottawa.com. There's a bunch of emails on there and contact info and stuff. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for talking to me.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I've been at your place twice and I just loved it.
Come back anytime.
Anytime.